Here are One Special Ghost Experience Part 3, proudly present by Nightmare Horror Addict. A soul possessed. The true story of the exorcism of Emily Rose. The #1 box office hit in the USA in 2005 was The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Appealing to lovers of the paranormal, the movie portrayed a young girl possessed by demons, and entailed her suffering then the many exorcism rites should endure to be freed. Even with its status as a #1 hit, the movie rated mixed reviews, teetering from spine-tingling to dull. The movie also fell short of the reported facts. But whether you like or dislike the movie, the fact that it is based on a true horrifying experience of a young woman has to leave an impression. The real Emily Rose, Anneliese Michel, was a young, beautiful woman on her way to a career in elementary education. She was born on September 21, 1952, in a small village in Bavaria, raised in Klingenberg am Main, Germany. Her father operated a sawmill and the family was devout Catholics. Anneliese had a seemingly normal childhood, and as she grew older, Anneliese became deeply religious. At the young age of 17, Anneliese's life turned into a nightmare. She began having unusual seizures during the night. She described the symptoms as paralysis, an enormous weight on her chest, her body becoming rigid, and she wouldn't be able to speak. Doctors at the Psychiatric Clinic in Wurzburg diagnosed Anneliese as suffering from grand mal epileptic seizures. After the occurrence of her third seizure, she spent close to a year in a psychiatric hospital in Mittleberg. During her stay at the hospital, she started seeing demonic faces, especially during her daily prayers, and voices telling her that she was damned. Doctors there began to medicate her with some type of anticonvulsant. Anneliese's frustrations grew when the medications didn't provide any help. She continued to see the faces and became more depressed. Once released, Anneliese returned to high school in the fall of 1970. She graduated and then moved to the city to attend the University of Wurzburg on a scholarship in 1973, and majored in elementary education. Convinced that medication wasn't going to help her condition, she grew to believe that it was a spiritual infliction. She requested that the church perform an exorcism, but they refused to do so, and the church suggested that she should devote herself to a more religious life. Anneliese's ailments continued to get worse. She began self-mutilation, would bite family members, ate flies, coal, and spiders, and even bit the head off of a dead bird. She had also begun to rip her clothes off, would bark like a dog for days at a time, and would urinate in the floor and lick it up. She began sleeping on a stone floor at her parents' house to pay penance. Atoning for the sins of others had been a part of Anneliese's life for years. She'd also began destroying any religious symbols, rosaries, crucifixes, and paintings of Jesus. After 5 years into her horrible ordeal, her parents started seeing numerous priests and requesting an exorcism, but met only with suggestions that treatment and medication be continued. The church has certain requirements that have to be met before approving of an exorcism, including supernatural powers, speaking in other languages, and an adverse reaction to any religious objects. After finally declaring Anneliese demon-possessed in September of 1975, Joseph Stangl, the bishop, ordered an exorcism be performed, and Pastor Ernst Ald with Father Arnold Renz were given the assignment. Several demons were said to have taken possession of Anneliese's body. Among them were Hitler, Cain, Nero, Judas, Legion, Belial, and Lucifer. The exorcisms began in September and continued through the end of June in 1976. For 10 months the rites were performed once or twice weekly, and sometimes continued for 4 hours at a time. In many of these sessions, Anneliese would have strong attacks and have to be held or chained down. During the rites, Anneliese would speak with a demonic voice in several different languages, including some that have died out years ago. Anneliese's health began to deteriorate. During the 10 months the rites were being performed, she'd refused to eat, saying the demons wouldn't let her. She'd also ruptured both her kneecaps from performing approximately 600 genuflections, the process of dropping to your knees repeatedly. During this time she gave a written letter to the priest, stating that she no longer wanted to continue with the exorcisms. She told of the Virgin Mary coming to her and offering her two choices: to have immediate freedom from the demons, or to let the possession continue for a while longer, to reveal the danger and power of demons to the whole world and save souls. She was also told that before her death she would be free of the demons, and would die in grace. Anneliese decided to remain possessed and stopped the exorcisms. She also predicted the time of her own death. At midnight on July 1, 1976, the exact day she predicted, Anneliese went to sleep, finally at peace, and never woke up. She came down with pneumonia, was running a fever. In the last 10 months of her life, the fasting had taken its toll. The autopsy report confirmed that she died of malnutrition and dehydration. A beautiful young woman that had become almost unrecognizable, weighing at just 68 pounds. None of the tests performed during the autopsy, including the microscopic study of the brain, resulted in any reasons for the cause of the seizures. An investigation concluded that Anneliese had literally starved to death, and that if she'd been force-fed she would still be alive. Both her parents, the pastor, and the priest were all charged with negligent homicide, and the trial started in March of 1978. Despite the introduction of several sessions recorded on tape, all four were found guilty. The sentences of 6 months probation were more than expected by the people, but more than the prosecution had asked for. The prosecution wanted to impose fines on the priests, and although he wanted the parents to be found guilty, he didn't want to impose any punishments on them. Right before the trials began, Anneliese's parents had asked that her body be exhumed. A Carmelite nun had sent them a message of a vision she'd had, in which she said that the body had not deteriorated, and would provide proof that it was a supernatural case, with the excuse that they'd had to hurriedly bury their daughter in a cheap coffin, and wanted to transfer the body to a nicer one. They were granted permission to exhume Anneliese, although the parents nor the priests were allowed to view the body, and no pictures have been released to the public. It was said that the body had decayed just like any other body. On February 25, 1978, the body was exhumed and transferred to a new coffin made of oak and lined with tin, buried only 100 feet from the house she grew up in. Anneliese's grave is often visited. The case became the last time the Catholic Church officially recognized demonic possession and granted an exorcism. In her last words to the priests, Anneliese warned them to beg for absolution, and a dying child's last words to her mother was, "Mother, I'm afraid." Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to subscribe our channel to get notified when we get new fantastic video.